It was supposed to be revolutionary, a bold new step for an iconic brand, but instead, it became the punchline of a generation. The car that was meant to save Pontiac ended up doing the exact opposite. This is the untold story of the Pontiac Aztek, the car that killed a legend. What if I told you the Aztek wasn't as bad as you think? What if the real story is about corporate greed, rushed decisions, and a car that was ahead of its time? Stay tuned, because this story is about to change the way you see the Aztek forever. Before we dive into the Aztek, we need to take a step back and talk about Pontiac, the brand behind the car. In the 60s and 70s, Pontiac was the brand for performance. They gave us the GTO, the car that kicked off the muscle car era. Remember the Firebird Trans Am? Iconic. Smokey and the Bandit made it a cultural phenomenon. Pontiac was the cool American brand, but by the 1990s, that cool factor was fading fast. The golden age of muscle cars was over. The American market was shifting and people weren't buying sports coupes like they used to. SUVs and minivans were the new thing, practical, versatile, and perfect for families. Pontiac needed something fresh, something different, something that could spark their comeback. And that's when General Motors came up with an idea. They wanted to build a car that was part SUV, part minivan, and 100% unique. A vehicle that would capture the adventurous spirit of the new millennium. Bold, versatile, and perfect for people who wanted to do it all. Enter the Pontiac Aztek. It was the late 90s and General Motors was in full desperation mode. They were bleeding market share to foreign automakers. Their designs were getting stale, and the market was rapidly changing. They needed something new, something bold. That's when they launched what they called Project Renaissance. Their goal? To create a new line of cars that would completely shake up the market and change the way people viewed American automobiles. The Aztek was supposed to be the flagship of this new direction. It was going to be the ultimate vehicle for young, active people. A new kind of crossover that would combine the practicality of a minivan with the rugged appeal of an SUV. Think about it. It had features that no other car offered. A built-in cooler in the center console, a tent that attached to the back so you could camp out anywhere. Even a removable stereo system that you could take to the beach. It was perfect for a generation that valued experiences and adventure. But here's where things started to go south. While the engineers and designers at Pontiac were working on something groundbreaking, GM's corporate bean counters were slashing budgets left and right. The project that started as a bold, futuristic concept quickly got watered down into something, well, let's just say, less appealing. The wild and innovative ideas that could have made the Aztek the game changer it was meant to be slowly evaporated. The budget cuts forced the car's design to become a Frankenstein's monster. It looked like it was designed by 3 different teams that never talked to each other. Clunky, awkward, even downright ugly. But looks weren't the only problem. When the Aztek finally hit showrooms in the year 2000, Pontiac was confident. They thought they had a winner. The marketing was in full swing. The ads showed a car that could do it all, carry your gear, go off-roading, even take you camping. It was supposed to appeal to young people who wanted to live life on their terms, but the public? Not so much. The design was instantly polarizing. Car enthusiasts hated it. The media roasted it. It became the butt of jokes across late-night TV and even Breaking Bad, where it was chosen as the perfect car for Walter White, a man trapped in his mundane and boring life. The Aztek was not the hero people wanted. It was the villain of the automotive world. But here's the thing. Under all that awkward styling, the Aztek wasn't actually a bad car. It was practical, versatile, and packed with features that no one else offered at the time. The fact is, it was one of the very first crossovers, a segment that would absolutely explode in popularity just a few years later. Think about it. The Aztek was ahead of its time, yet it was met with scorn. So why did it fail? Was it really just about the design, or was there something else at play? Well, for one, GM priced it way too high. The Aztek started at over $21,000. That was right around the same price as a fully loaded SUV from much more trusted brands like Jeep and Subaru, and with its divisive looks, people just weren't willing to pay that much for a car they could barely stand to look at. But pricing was just the start of the problems. General Motors rushed the Aztek to market. Quality control was poor. The interior felt cheap and plasticky. The ride wasn't as smooth or comfortable as its competitors. GM's desperate push to get the car out quickly meant they skipped over a lot of the details that could have helped it stand out. And perhaps the biggest issue? GM didn't understand its customers. They thought young, adventurous people would flock to the Aztek. But those people were already loyal to other brands like Subaru with true off-road credibility. The Aztek was stuck in this weird no-man's land, appealing to no one. And the result? Sales were a disaster. GM had hoped to sell 75,000 Azteks a year. In reality, they barely sold 27,000 in its best year. By 2005, Pontiac quietly pulled the plug. The Aztek was dead. But the damage to Pontiac's reputation was already done. It wasn't just a failure, it became a symbol of everything wrong with General Motors. Poor design, bad management, and a complete disconnect from customers. But here's where things start to get interesting. By 2009, GM was drowning in debt. The global financial crisis didn't help, and facing bankruptcy, they made the hard decision to cut several of their brands. Pontiac, once one of America's most beloved car brands, was gone. But could the Aztek actually have had a second chance? Maybe the Aztek was misunderstood from the start. When we look at the Aztek today, it's clear that it was ahead of its time. It was a true crossover before crossovers were cool. It had features that other brands would take years to catch up to. In fact, the Aztek might have been one of the first cars to truly merge practicality and adventure. You know what's crazy? Aztek owners actually loved their cars. Customer satisfaction was surprisingly high. People who bought the Aztek held onto it for years. It was a reliable, practical vehicle with plenty of unique features. And then there's Breaking Bad, which turned the Aztek into an unexpected pop culture icon. Isn't it funny how time can change things? What was once a symbol of failure became a symbol of nostalgia? But wait, did the Aztek really kill Pontiac? Or was it just a sign of a much bigger problem at General Motors? Could it be that the car wasn't the real issue, but rather the company that failed to execute on its potential? Maybe the Aztek didn't kill a legend. Maybe it exposed just how far GM had fallen. The Pontiac Aztek is a lesson in what happens when innovation meets bad execution. It was bold, different, and way ahead of its time, but it was also rushed, overpriced, and misunderstood. Could it have been a success if GM had just believed in it a little longer? Maybe, but instead, it became a cautionary tale of corporate mismanagement and a company that lost its way. And Pontiac? Well, they paid the price. But in the end, maybe the Aztek deserves a second look, because sometimes the cars we laugh at today were simply too early for their times. So here's the question. Was the Aztek really the disaster everyone says it was? Or was it just misunderstood? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know what you think of this controversial car. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into automotive history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a story like this. There's so much more to come. Thanks for watching Overdrive, and I'll see you in the next one.